Welcome to the next episode of Same Page. We're your hosts, Sarah Semajist.
And I'm Lynn Semajist.
Today we have a very, very special guest with us. We have Matthew Goddard, who is a friend, a business partner. We have a very cool project with him, and we are here today to talk about this project. So we're going to divulge a little bit what it's about. It's a land development project. So a little bit what it is and how we acquired it and all the things that come with it. So Matthew, welcome.
Thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be here so that we can talk about our project, talk about other things we have going on or anything like that. So my name's Matthew. Like you said, we're business partners on one of our projects. I've been working in real estate for a while. Started getting into development recently. Before that, I was doing property management, buying multifamilies and that kind of thing. And so I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I know it's been a little bit of scheduling issues to get you, and you're not a man that is in Ottawa often, so thank you for blessing us with your time. So let's dive right into it.
Yes, let's get into it.
So we bought this land.
Yes.
I think 2 years ago now.
2021.
Yep.
And what's the plan for the land? So maybe tell us a little bit about like the size and how we acquired it, and like what is the vision for this land?
So we bought it, actually it was 2022, beginning of 2022.
You're right.
You're right. My bad.
Only 1 year.
I know.
Let's cut that out.
Time flies.
Yeah.
So we bought this land. It's in the east end of Ottawa. It's on the transit lane, or the transit corridor that's being built there. So it's nice and close to the corridor. The idea for it is to create a mixed-use building, 6 stories, about 60,000 square feet. As commercial, and it'll be a midterm stay hotel, something that will kind of service a bit of a missing middle housing, housing, but stay accommodation that's required. So we're excited to do that. Like I said, it's right near the transit. It's an up-and-coming area. The city's like planning to do the new development there, like thousands of units being created and jobs being created, and it's really exciting to be one of the first sort of developments being submitted for the area. So,
I think we'll definitely be the pioneers, and everybody else will come after and replicate what we've done, but it's okay.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing the hard work for them, which is fine.
Yeah.
So you've named it the Fulcrum.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit why? What's the story behind that?
So a fulcrum is a pivot point, essentially. So this is one of the largest developments that like we've worked on, and so it definitely represents a turning point, a pivot point in what we're doing and our kind of business strategy and the impact we want to make in the community. So the idea behind the building is to have something that is sustainable, that's accessible, that is being of service to the community, and that's sort of what is kind of wrapped up in the name of this pivot point, this fulcrum. What real estate or development can really mean to a community, and then the changes that it can have working with the community and helping service the community. So.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this project is that we do have 2 floors of commercial space that we'll be able to rent to anybody from the community. And we're really hoping that this can actually bring different types of people together. Like, we don't know exactly which types of commercial businesses are going to want to rent. We do have some interest in from an adult stay program and perhaps a pharmacy. But I'm excited to see how all the businesses are going to interact with each other, and how what kind of people is going to attract to this building. So that's really cool to I'm looking into the future and thinking like, okay, like how is that gonna look like, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And I know at one point we had talked about maybe having like a little playground in the back, maybe for like a family with young kids who's waiting for another kid finishing whatever physical
School
activities,
or
tutoring, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
So definitely looking forward to see if it's like a more of a family oriented type of.
Well, that was kind of what we had talked about, was a bit of a space that it's a hotel. It's a hotel. It's commercial space, sure, but it's also an element within the community, and the building itself is an element of community. We have a space in our design, like an atrium, that can I kind of envision it as being, the living room of this mixed-use building, right? Whether it's staff, guests, customers, just people in the community, being able to kind of meet, and everyone's able to kind of, help each other out. There's mutual benefit to having guests from the hotel use the commercial spaces, people using the commercial spaces, knowing about or having access to a midterm stay hotel. So, yeah.
So, explain how you came across the property. Like, how did this opportunity fall into your lap?
Well, kind of by accident. So it's not often where you kind of accidentally purchase
a
piece of land. But my family, my extended family, runs a foster care agency in the city, and they have offices nearby. They know of this property, and we're, talking about, we could use more parking or whatever. They knew about the property and that it potentially might be for sale because they maybe had some thoughts about it, which was pretty much just like a parking lot. And I said, well, why don't we build something on it? Because it's hard to, make a case for just a parking lot. So we could build something on it and have extra parking, and we're, creating something, and you get your benefit out of it that you want. They said, oh no, we can't do that. I said, well, like, it's a piece of land, like it's empty, it could be anything, like what about the imagination part of it, They're like, no, there's no way, that doesn't make sense. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure I know some people that might be interested in doing something with it.
Nice.
Like, give me a week, let me call somebody, and I think we might be able to figure something out. And like, it literally was over just like dinner. People were just talking about it at dinner, and I was like, oh, why don't I buy it, I guess.
Well, the power of knowledge, right? And the power of community, right? Because I remember you came to us, and we had chatted about this for a couple of times, and then one day you just told me, okay, let's partner on it and let's pursue this.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, like I knew, we had looked at the potential. I think we had gone to a few public meetings with the city.
Yeah.
And that's how you find out, like, the potential, right? You talk to councillors, you talk to the city planners, you look up on Geo Ottawa, so you do need to do some research. But once you see the potential, then you know what you can buy it for.
Exactly, and like, this area is, like I said, there's a lot of development, and there's new official plans from the city coming out detailing what the city wants to see in the area and everything like that. And so, if anything, it kind of worked out to be perfect timing, in the sense that we were able to go to some of these consulting meetings with the city, where the city was consulting the public. What do you want to see here? This is what we're thinking. What do you like? Gaining input from the public. So we were just in time to give our input, give what we thought might work, have some back and forth of, what might be the best use for the land. And so through that, before it even really cost us much of anything, we were able to have a back and forth and a discussion with the city to come to a solution that works for the city, works for us. It just worked out kind of perfectly in that
Yeah.
regard.
So how has that process been dealing with the city and officials and whatnot?
How's it been? It has been. It has been humbling to find some of the nerdiest, fantastic, amazing people in the city planning department of the Ottawa City.
I agree.
My hat goes off to them. I'm not a city planner or anything like that, but maybe in another life that would have been a job for me.
Yeah, it sounds
I
pretty
thoroughly
cool.
enjoyed the philosophy around it and their thinking, thinking and how they come to what they're looking to see, and like I jive with that a lot. It's always there's a core element of mutual benefit, to the public, and I really enjoy seeing people that really are pushing to make that happen in the communities and in the cities. So
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned is that, the collaboration with the city planners. And I think it's not stressed enough that land development is really that. It's like a collaboration between the community, land developers, and the city planners, right?
yeah,
Because oftentimes you can come as a land developer and you can say, hey, I want to do this, but if the city doesn't really envision this type of project for that area, then you're just going against the future development of the city, right?
yeah. I feel like that there's a bit of a stigma on developers about doing that, trying to impose their vision on the community instead of just working with what makes sense in the community, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Take a look around, either at what's existing or what has already been decided to be potentially the future of that community, and see how what you have fits into that. How does it piece into the future of that community? So
Exactly. And I was talking to someone, I'm not sure when, maybe a week ago, and they were talking about a project that they have, and they have a lot of NIMBYs, so not in my backyard
yeah.
type of people. Always, they don't want these developments happening near them. But if you live in a home, there's once upon a time, a developer was like, hey,
that was something else at one point, and now it's the home
Exactly.
you live in, right?
Exactly.
So that was someone else's backyard, and now it's your backyard.
Yeah.
That's
And,
exactly it.
I mean, in the future, it'll be someone else's backyard
That's
again.
it.
And that's
Yeah.
and typically, whether it's commercial or other residential real estate that's being built in your area, it increases the value of your property, right?
Absolutely.
So I do understand that some people maybe they bought something and it was more of a maybe rural or less traffic or whatnot, and they don't want to increase the traffic for whatever reason. But ultimately, it can benefit you with the type of businesses or maybe a community,
Anything. So I shameless plug. I wrote a book last year, and in my book, in a couple paragraphs, I describe how in my past I worked in a high rise in Ottawa, and I helped manage that property. I was superintendent there, and that was 300 apartments. 500 people living there. It was a tower, but essentially it was a community. It was its own little community, right? And if you go around to different communities in the area, it's essentially the equivalent to a small suburb. I can't remember the exact numbers, but let's say it was like 10 acres of suburb type space, right? So small little community, if not more, or something like that. So these communities are little sections that do evolve.
Absolutely.
It could be a tower, it could be townhouses, it could be townhouses with some commercial and 3-story mixed use or something. Like they come in all stripes, but it shouldn't be something that's feared.
Yes, and typically it's for the greater good of the city, right? As we know, there's more and more immigrants coming to Canada in general, but Ottawa specifically. And we're gonna need those housing, and we're gonna need those businesses to support those newcomers.
Yeah.
So we need the infrastructure to do that. So land developers, I think obviously things need to be done right, and the city does assure that the development fits into the city's vision. But I think a lot of people should thank land developers for having a vision like that.
I feel like a lot of Not In My Backyard is communities that are lucky enough to be very car centric. Where, we don't want commercial, we don't want this, we don't want that. And it would take them half an hour to go walk to a store to get some bread or something. But that's not the average person, to be honest.
Exactly.
Not everybody wants to drive to do every single thing. Go from the house, be outside for 5 seconds, hop in the car, be outside for 5 seconds, go to the store. Some people want to go for a walk sometimes.
Exactly.
And if there's nowhere to go and nothing to get, no groceries, that's an issue.
And it's better for your health. And
it's better for your health. Yeah.
Ottawa specifically is trying to implement what's called a 15-minute neighborhood.
Yes.
Where you can walk to grocery stores, daycares, school, library, and they have about 9 amenities that they want within walking distance.
Exactly.
And so there's going to be more of those being developed so that people can just be healthier and be able to
be able to have options, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's an element of have options, live the life you want, and maybe a little bit of freedom. If your only choice is to get in the car and drive somewhere, get on the highway to go to the store, you don't have choices.
Yeah.
People like to have choices, and people like to live in different ways, and communities made up of all kinds of different people.
Absolutely.
And people like to bike and walk and take transit or whatever.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of a bit born out of where our development came from. It's right around the transit area. It's one of those areas and zones that they want to be a 15-minute community. They want services and amenities and access for the community to, in this case, go from a central hub for transit to anything within almost a 15-minute walk of that transit hub. So, I want
to
full circle.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree. I want to go back to the Fulcrum for a little bit.
Yeah.
Some key elements that we are implementing in this building are accessibility and sustainability.
Yes.
I know for sure you've been the one really pushing for accessibility and sustainability.
Yeah.
And talk to us a little bit about, why that's so important to you for this project.
Right. So we'll do, let's say, sustainability first. There's a whole gambit of reasons that I'm supportive for sustainability. You could Google it and find the 10 best reasons or whatever. I'm probably supportive of most of those. For me, though, it's a little more, maybe a personal, deeper level. I was flipping houses before, and I've worked in construction, most of my life, or maintenance or whatever. And there's an element of kind of respecting the worker who's come before, the effort that's come before. And taking, an old, maybe abandoned house, instead of demolishing it, respecting, that brick layer that came before, and making that house whole again. So his effort doesn't go to waste. That kind of falls into the sustainability for me. So building a property that will be able to last a long time, building a property that isn't being wasteful in its construction method, isn't being unthoughtful in its construction method, and will be able to last a long time, will be able to be serviced for a long time, and isn't, as much as it can, isn't negatively impacting the maybe immediate environment, but just the environment as a whole.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a philosophical thing for me, but it's just this idea of being respectful of what we have in our environment and building something that's going to last.
And where does that philosophy come from?
It just comes back from. It comes from a spot of trying to respect that person that has built things in the past, and just not being wasteful. So it comes from that. Build a building that's not wasteful, that will last, that is serviceable, and can be around as long as it has value to the public, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
So it kind of comes from that sort of that element, because people work hard to build.
Right.
Absolutely.
Building things are hard. These people work really hard. There's less people that want to do that kind of labor. So it's a premium. This kind of person that will wake up at 7, work a 10-hour day, lifting heavy things. They
don't make them anymore.
Yeah, people. Not as many people want to do that. It's
very labor.
Those people are the people I respect some of the most.
Yeah.
Because they don't necessarily enjoy what they do, but
Right.
they do. For the accessibility part, so I grew up, like I said, my extended family has a foster care agency. They specialize in adults and kids with special needs. So I grew up in a household as a young kid, and as an adult, it's a big part of my life, with people that have special needs, total care, special needs, people in wheelchairs, stuff like that. All kinds of special needs individuals have been part of my life, and I think it's really important to make sure that they have as few barriers in their life as we can. And when it comes to development, I mean, that is the point, the singular point that you can make a decision of how inconvenient this person's life can be. Whether they're going to have stairs that they have to go up for everything, whether they're going to have to have hallways or corners that they can't make it around, whether they can't reach things because it's too far away, or that is a singular point in the design of a development, how inconvenient you choose to make someone's life. And usually the added cost at that design phase is minimal or nothing, or sometimes even there's a savings to be had.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But after the fact, the added cost can be quite significant.
Exactly.
So that's kind of where that's born out of.
Okay.
But I can mention that because I definitely have a soft spot for people that have special needs and whatnot, because my mother was also in that industry as a psychoeducator. So for me, it normalized being around those other people at a very young age.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy to hear that you want to create something that will include them in the whole experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because there's an element, for me, personally, I can, I'll climb a set of stairs if I need to go somewhere.
Exactly,
I move fast. I'll walk through a building. I slip through doors. I don't I'll move. There won't be anything that will be a barrier to me. So I guess I don't personally care in that regard. Nothing's gonna. There's no impediment in a structure to me. However, someone special needs, or someone with a newborn kid who has a stroller, or someone who's older. I feel like the vast majority of people are gonna maybe have a kid at one point in their life, or we're all gonna get older.
We're all gonna get older.
We're all getting older. At the very least, if you don't have special needs, if you're not gonna have a kid, there ain't nothing stopping you from getting older. So you're gonna get older at some point, and your mobility is gonna be changed. And I have a property management company. A lot of my tenants, this is kind of an aside, a lot of my tenants are a bit older, and whenever I'm visiting the sites or the buildings or whatever, firsthand I see impacts of what maybe these buildings have accessibility wise, where even a door, I'm just opening a door, I don't even care,
Right.
but someone's struggling to open a door, and we can make changes so that that person doesn't have to worry about anything like that.
Right.
They can go to this restaurant, the store, the hotel, or whatever, and not be knocked down by the door.
And have the same experience
as everybody else, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Nobody wants to be knocked down by a door. No one wants to trip on a step.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to get to their hotel room or to whatever place they're going and just be like completely winded from like walking up a elevation of some sort. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also, I think the city has higher standards now for energy efficiency,
Yes.
but that is something that we were going to include anyway in our building. Is there a couple elements that you can maybe name? I'm not very familiar with them, but I know our architect is very versed in them. But if a couple of elements of energy efficiency that are gonna go into our design.
Yeah. Energy efficiency and sustainability, in my mind, they're hand in hand.
Okay.
Two sides of the same coin. Because I mean, the more efficient something is, anyway. There's a few things that we'd like to implement in the building. I guess start at the top would be some sort of renewable energy aspect. So probably going to be solar, something like that on the roof. Things for that, or like the reasoning behind that is emergency backup power will always be available to us. I know generators would be part of the building. However, the sun is usually always shining. So there's an element of that, of redundancy that comes from that. And just the metrics of the building being more efficient. If you want to go to numbers, the expenses of the building being lower, which allows more of this income, more of the building's potential to go towards other things. We are considering building with mass timber. Mass timber has to do with it's the type of lumber construction. It's sustainable, it's energy efficient, it gets built faster, it's usually cheaper to build, all these other components, and it looks beautiful. The other thing is heat pumps. We'll probably be using heat pumps. A lot of these efficiency things, they do have like a number component coming with them, helping to reduce expenses, that kind of thing. But it's not just that. It has to do also with redundancy, simplicity in systems, like the building systems and that kind of stuff. So I mean, those are kind of the top three that are probably gonna have the biggest impact on the design: renewable energy, heat pumps, and then the construction, the mass timber construction. So.
This is such a great description of what the project is going to look like. I'm super excited for it to actually come to life. We've been putting so much work into it, talking to our architects, city planners. We have all the consultants for geotechnical. I think we may have to do another episode about like the steps that it takes to actually bring it to life, and more like the more technical parts of it. But one thing that we didn't touch on is that we talked about the land and, how we acquired it and what it's going to be. But I just want to be a little bit more specific as to what, how many units and parking and all of that. So as you had mentioned that it's a 6-story, or maybe you had mentioned that it's a 6-story building, about 60,000 square feet.
Yes.
The top 4 floors are going to be hotel suites, and right now in our design we have 61 suites. A combination of 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, and bachelors. And actually, one of the reasons we decided to go with some 1 bedroom, not all bachelors, and some 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, is that in the future there may be possibility of converting these suites into residential units if the zoning allows for it. So if we already have the rough ends and it's already set up like that, it's just a zoning issue at this point. And then we can quickly turn it into multifamily. So that was one of the reasons. And bottom 2 floors is just all commercial. We have co-working space, an atrium, multiple commercial spaces.
Yeah. We have a gym. We kind of approached it in a way where you want to have amenities for you want to have a fair amount of amenities for a midterm stay hotel.
Exactly.
And so the amenity spaces, we're trying to position them in a way where we're going to be able to partner with some commercial entities in the community and have a partnership with them to kind of operate or to be part of that space, so that we kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did at one point consider a pool, but I think it just got a little bit more complicated in the space. I think it would also take too much space, so we decided.
And it's just a short walk from one of the most beautiful beaches
in absolutely
Ottawa,
right.
on Petrie Island.
Yeah.
So, it's doesn't need a pool. Just, in the winter, maybe bring a parka. Swimming. So
fair enough. And lastly, we didn't talk about the underground parking.
Yes.
So the actual land, we didn't have enough space to put surface parking. So we're going to call it 2.5 levels of underground parking, so that we can not only service the hotel, but also the businesses.
Yeah.
So I think from the design, the parking has been the biggest challenge so far.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're going to have enough, like I said, to service the whole building.
Yeah.
But we think that we got to something that's reasonable, and if anything else, we'll just buy the adjacent land and use it for service parking.
It's it sometimes takes a village or takes some teamwork. So if we need to reach out to neighbors, and if they're more than interested, can make all of our dreams come true.
Exactly. Well, you know what? This conversation was really good. I hope our viewers are going to find a lot of value in this project. We have so much more to talk about, but we just, we could talk about this all day, and I think sometimes we do talk about it all day. So
the wee hours of the night.
Exactly. So if anybody has any question, they can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to answer them. And I'm sure people are going to want to reach out to you specifically. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, what is the best way that they can find you?
So you can find me on Facebook. That's usually the best way. I have a link up there. You can book a meeting with me if you want to. I have a strictly open door policy to my calendar and to my time. If I can help you out with anything in a conversation, then I'm more than happy to do that. I'm here to be of service to people with my knowledge and my time if I can. So Facebook's probably the best way. I'm also on Instagram, but not so much.
not as active.
I need to bump up my activity there.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. And as we're alluding to earlier, like you travel quite often from here to the East Coast, so just finding the time to come in is very appreciated.
Yes, and Matt's typically on the road, so don't be surprised if when you call him, he's talking to you while he's in his car.
Exactly. Always with Bluetooth.
Yeah,
there's a little hum in the background. It's just making things happen on the road. That's all.
All right. All right. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, don't forget to
live your truth.